Okay, so today we continue with our Kitzur class. Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. So today class number 20, and we start with Sefer Chafetz Chaim, and big topic is the same, Lashon Hara, laws of derogatory speech, and today's topic is repentance. We're on page 82.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to read?
Yeah. Repentance. We have seen that to speak derogatorily of one's fellow is to degrade one's own status as a creation in God's image. For one who speaks Lashon Hara, the tshuva process is the same for all, as for all sins between man and his Creator. Confession, sincere regret, and the resolution never to speak Lashon Hara again. One is not required to discuss the matter with the subject of one's sinful words and seek his forgiveness, unless actual harm is caused.
Okay, there is a teshuvah for having caused harm through a Lashon Hara is to be discussed later. So basically, so what we learn from here. So teshuvah process is the same as for all of the other sins between man and man. So first, a person has to confess and acknowledge that he did something wrong. That's step one. Then he said he has to say that I did something wrong. So confession, he has to acknowledge what he did. Then he has to say that I did something wrong. And then third step is resolution never to do it again. Same as Lashon Hara. The only difference between sins between man and man, so they have to do some restitution. For example, if guy lost a lot of money, he lost whole business or whatever because of this stupid comment, right? On the product page. So it's just simple. I'm sorry, it's not going to work. In a sense, a person has to fix it as much as he can. All right. So stop here. So we continue Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, and we continue with loads of tzitzis. So it's a little detailed, but it's that's what we need to cover. So as we said before, Kitzur is a shorter version of the actual Shulchan Aruch. Okay, so it's very minimal. So we left off like in the middle of the sif number 13. So I'm going to start from the beginning, but without commentary. We just briefly read, so we have continuation. Then it says number 13, when the tzitzis tassel is affixed to the garment, it must be total of 12 thumb breadths in the length. Okay. This sif discuss halachas that apply when some of the tzitzis string were severed after they had been affixed properly. Okay, so they affixed properly, so and then severed. Okay. Tzitzis tassel of one of the 4 tzitzis affixed to each corner of the garment was severed. They are doubled to produce a total of 8 strings. Okay, so basically, okay, so it's there are 4, but then the double, so that's how we got number 8. Okay. And there remained, so it's 4 from one side, from another side. I mean, from the knot, the final knot, 4 from one side, from another knot, side of the knot. And there remained after it was severed enough string to make a bow. And we said, well, what is a bow? So bow is we said there is one more lenient opinion. I am saying it was more stringent opinion was 3.2 to 3.8 inches. So which is a lot, and more second opinion was 1.6 inches. So it's like right 1.6 to 1.9. So basically like a very tiny string. Like if it still remains, so Rabbi say that you can still use it. Or if 2 strings are severed, but each is more than had 4 thumb breadths remain. Okay, so if in 1 severed or 2 severed, okay, and the other 2 strings were complete, their length being proper measured, 12 thumbnails breadths, right? The tzitzis are valid. So if only 2 severed, right, and then they have this minimum requirement, but 2 are good, so no problem. However, if 3 or 4 were severed, when even if there remain of each of those 3 strings 4 thumb breadths lengths, right? So even so, if 4 was severed, and even no, 3 were severed, and even they 3 have like minimum like requirement length, and the 4th string is complete, or if only 1 string was severed, but there is not, but did not remain of it at least that length of 4 thumb breadths, even though the other 3 string complete, the tzitzis must nevertheless be treated as invalid. So if 3 are severed, like minimum requirement, or even 1 severed, but it's less than minimum requirement, so it's not good. Okay, valid, except in the present situation. For example, if there is no other tzitzis available. Okay. So, all right. So that's what we said so far. Okay, new material, sem halacha. Therefore, if one of the strings were severed, of the 8 shorter strings hanging from tzitzis tassel, even if it was completely severed until the braided portion of the tzitzis tassel that contain the links. So meaning that if one was severed and up until the knot, that's what it is. It is clearly still valid tzitzis tassel, because this string is actually only half of the 1 string. There is the interesting. There is the half of 1 of 4 long strings inserted in the corner of the garment. So basically, they, as we said, they put 4 and then bend it like together, bend it, and it's going to be 8. Right now we got 8. So they say even if 1 is severed, so it's still 1 like from that it comes from another side of the corner, that is still complete. I mean, so it's more than. So I mean, length in general is enough. Yeah. And there is still a second half, as we just said, of the same string, which is another of 8 shorter strings in a tzitzis tassel. Enough to make a bow, and even more than that, since that side is not been severed. So I mean, it's let's say it's complete, so it's more than 1 bow, right? And each shorter string starts out 8 thumb breadths long. See above. Okay. So basically, I mean, it's all technical details, but they say even if 1 is severed up until not, but there is still a continuation of it, still good. So they say in present situation, so they can still keep it. Okay. If 2 strings of the 8 are severed, 2 strings of 8 are severed, meaning I didn't say completely, right? And neither of 2 had 4 thumb breadths remain. Okay. If the tzitzis tassel was made of such a way that there is a reason to be concerned that perhaps the 2 strings are actually 2 ends of the same long string, then the tzitzis tassel is involved. So basically, if we know for sure there is a same string that severs from 2 sides, so of course it's not good. But I'm not sure how can you tell since they're white. So I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure how can you tell. Since but they say if you know for sure, right? Since there may be 1 string that does not have any length of or fringe remained. Okay, commentary. This situation arises when in the making of the braided portion of the tassel, care was not taken to keep the fringes in one side of the knot. Okay, separate from those on one side and the other. I'm not sure why would they do that, but they say it's not careful. So basically, even though they're supposed to be like 4 on one side, 4 on another side of this knot, but somehow they say that they didn't do it carefully, so it could be like from the same side to strings, could be from it's actually the one and the same. Okay, possible, I guess. I mean, Just looking at this, the knots, it's impossible to say the way I understand. Okay. So it said the two ends of the same side of the knot were severed, right? So right. In that case, the two short strings were severed certainly from two separate long strings. So if they did it everything carefully. So 4 on one side, 4 on another side, and they actually continuation of each other. So even if 2 on one side were severed, so it's like two separate strings. They said there is no problem. Okay, so it's not two sides of one; it's two ends of different one. And since in this case each one string still has even more than minimum amount, so from one side, of course, of 4 thumb brasses on the second side of the knot, and the other 2 long strings are complete, the tzitzis tassel remain valid. So basically, if it's length enough, so basically he can, the way I understand, he can retie them, and it would be enough, like minimum requirement of both sides of this severed tzitzis. That's the way I understand. That's okay. So let's continue. Even if one string was severed, at the part of the string that is between the hole of the corner of the garment and the first knot, the tzitzis tassel is valid. Very interesting. So now we're talking about the upper part when this tzitzis is tied to the garment. So even if one of them was severed, they say no problem. The Sif ends with the one qualification regarding these halachas. Regarding that which we said, that if one strings were severed and it had the sufficient length to make a bow, still remaining, it is still valid. So that's like bottom line, right? So even on one side there is enough side to make a bow, so it's valid. This applies only if at the time that the tzitzis tassel was made, when they were actually affixed to the corner of the garment, all of the tzitzis string were a required measurement, 12 thumbnail brasses long. Okay. And only afterwards, so basically in the beginning, initially when they tied it to the garment, they were good. So, and only like after the fact something happened. And only afterwards were some of them severed. However, if at that time that the tzitzis was made, there was even one string that was even slightly shorter than required measure, the tzitzis tassel is invalid. So basically, if it was made correctly and then something happened, so we can find some room for leniency. But if it was tied incorrectly, I mean, it was like not long enough length when they were tying it, so it's not valid. Okay. Even after the fact. Okay, so number 14, next one, halacha. The string of the tzitzis must be made of intertwined threads. So it's not one thread, but intertwined. There is each string must made of single strand. There is doubled and twisted to make single string. So, okay. If any string unraveled from the twisted state, then the halacha consider any unraveled portion as if it had been severed and no longer part of the string. Very interesting. So you know, like the strings are like unraveling. So they say if it's unraveled, so they consider like they severed. So, but you can always twist them again, and some people would do what they do. They burn with a match a little, right? So like it will stay at the same. Or some people apply glue, some kind of glues, whatever they do. So it's all good. So number 90, commentary. The above halacha applies to the threads that were doubled and twisted only once. Okay, and therefore, when the twisted part unraveled in a single ply. So basically, if it's only double, but in ours it's more than double. I don't know how many threads in there, maybe 8. I'm not sure, like many. If the threads that were twisted 4 or 8 times, that's what I think, what we have. Apologies, sorry. In our tzitzis, it's common for the strings to consist of threads that were twisted 4 or 8 times. Okay, exactly. Therefore, even if one of the strings unraveled into 2, it would not be considered as cut off. But that's a good story, since each of the strings themselves is made of twisted threads. So basically, in our case, it's I think it's 8 or even more threads. I'm not sure how many, like minimum 8. So thick, so for sure more. Okay, so basically, if they unravel a little, so to 2 parts, there is no problem. Okay, so sieve number 15. I apologize, it's a little technical, but that's what we have to cover. Okay. This sieve teaches the application of the rule of, as it applies to a tallis garment that was split in 2. So tallis was split in 2. Very interesting. A tallis that had the tzitzis already affixed to it and was divided into 2 pieces. I'm not sure how. Okay, let's see. As it's commonly done with many of tallis garments, which are made of 2 attached pieces of cloth. And occasionally they're taken apart to clean or to fix the tallis. And then after it is fixed or cleaned, the pieces are reconnected by sewing. So basically, I think that they would attach it here on the shoulder level, like two pieces. Okay, I'm not sure why we need to separate them to clean it. This I'm not sure. The halal, I mean that, but that's what it is. I don't think it's applied to our tallisim, but continue. The halacha in such a case as follows: since usually each part is large enough to wrap oneself in, and as such is still obligated tzitzis. Therefore, it is sufficient that if one remove 2 tzitzis from whichever part that he wishes to, and after the tallis is put back together, he should retie the tzitzis that were removed. Since the worst parts of the garment remained garments, that obligated tzitzis, there is no need to remove all tzitzis tassels before reconnecting the 2 pieces. Okay, so we're going to read commentary and see. So basically, somehow, I'm not sure why. So they would. I think I don't think we're talking about here about small tallis, because small tallis, wherever you put like under the short or on the top of the short, I think that's not enough to wrap oneself. Like they could be small, too small. Like if you divide them too small. So probably they're talking about the big tallis now that we use for praying. Commentary. However, both tzitzis tassels must be removed from at least one of the part of the tallis. So basically, somehow they want to disconnect 2 parts for cleaning, for fixing, for whatever reason. So they have to remove two tzitzis, right, and then tie them together. They tie them back when they sew the tallis, may make it like a new garment again. So one more time. However, both tzitzis tassels must be removed from at least one of the part of the tallis, because to simply reconnect the 2 pieces, each one with 2 tzitzis, would violate the precepts of. So you have to tie them, right? The remedy for this, the 2 tzitzis of 1 piece must be removed and then tied back after the tallis has been reconnected. In this way, we say that the part upon which the tzitzis remain was the main part of the tallis. So meaning the main part of the tallis remained, and we just add another one. And the other part was addition to the tallis. So we can always add to the tallis. There is no problem. Okay. So now we added new part, and on this new part, so we tie new tzitzis. Okay. Even old tzitzis, there is no problem. This avoids the problem of So meaning that you have to tie the tzitzis to the talus after the garment completed. So then only then you can tie the tzitzis. So Mishnah Brura, okay. So Mishnah Brura disputes this and writes that although it is ideal to remove the tzitzis from one side as above, it is not strictly necessary since, according to most authorities, this case is not a problem. Okay, so basically, okay, Mishnah Brura says basically you can keep the tzitzis and separating the talus. Okay, continue. However, if each part of the talus, after the talus was divided, does not have by itself enough material in which to wrap oneself in, so meaning like if they trying to do it on a small talus, one must remove the all tzitzis string. Okay, so in the first case where we're talking about the big talus and it's enough even half of it to wrap himself, so that part required tzitzis, meaning they had two. Maybe they needed another two, but it was since he was not wearing that, there is no problem. But once they connected two pieces together, he has to tie new tzitzis on the second part. Okay, but here they say since it was not enough material, so one must remove all the tzitzis. Okay, because there is a definition of how much talus is supposed to be, like in order to require tzitzis. Okay. Because when the pieces are separated, each side become exempt from obligation to affix tzitzis to it. Right, as we said, there is minimum requirement due to its small size. Now, after the two parts were joined together again, and the garment again become large enough for required tzitzis, if the original tzitzis tassel would have been left on, right? Since the talus were already affixed to it, when it become garment, there is obligated tzitzis, it is invalid, due to the precept that you shall make it, and not that you shall that use what was already made. So basically, so there is concept. So you have to tie tzitzis to complete garment. There were two separate parts. Each one of them did not require. So now they say remove all of the tzitzis. After they put them two parts together, now it became officially garment. So before it was not officially garment. Now it's become officially garment, and now it's officially required tzitzis. And so you're not able to leave it the whole tzitzis on that piece of talus. We were talking about small talus. Why? Because it was not enough room, not enough size, as explained above. Okay, if in the case where the two sides were separated, one of the sides was enough material with which to wrap, and one side no longer has enough material with which to wrap. Okay, so one side was enough material, so maybe it's, I don't know, there is a hole on one side. So, and another one did not have enough material. One should remove tzitzis tassels from the part that does not have enough material with which to wrap. So basically, it's like logically we can understand. So we remove only from part that was too small. Keep on the part that is large enough to have tzitzis on its own, right? For if the tzitzis were removed from that side, meaning for a bigger side, when it is rejoined to another side and become obligated once again in the midst of tzitzis, the already existing tzitzis will be invalid due to the rule of so you have to tie them on original garment when it's ready, when it is actually being garment. So basically, they say it has to be in a right order, and the small part did not require tzitzis, so it's not going to work. Okay, so let's do next halacha. So very technical, Baruch Hashem. Number 16. If the corners of the talus was cut or torn, okay. So now we're talking about corners. So we finished with the string. We go to the corners. So if you see at our corners, there are always like like reinforcement from a like stronger material to make it stronger. Okay. And okay. So one more time. If the corner of the talus was cut or torn, such as that it was separated completely from talus, okay, meaning corner completely separated from talus, and the piece that was severed measured less than 3 thumb braces. So thumb is like this part, right? The thumb in a wider part. So a little piece, basically, little piece of the corner. So one more time. If the piece that was severed measured less than 3 thumb braces, 3 thumb braces, commentary. So it says between 2.3 and 2.8 inches. Okay, so a little piece. Some say that this severed piece, even after it was sewn back securely onto talus, is disqualified from ever having tzitzis threads attached to it. Okay, so they say this piece of the corner was completely ripped off. So they say if the authorities will say if you sew it back, so it's disqualified to having tzitzis. Okay, for since that piece was separated, did not measure 3 thumb braces by 3 thumb braces, so it was a small piece. If no longer has a halakhic status of being a garment, so meaning that there is no more corner in that garment, right? And even if it is reattached to the talus, it is still considered as if it's part of the talus. It is proper to be stringent in this opinion. So let's read again. I mean, it's very complicated. So let's see. For since the piece, I'm going to read the sentence again and try to understand. For since that piece we separated did not measure 3 thumb braces, so it was like a small piece, right? Did not measure 3 thumb braces by 3 thumb braces. It is no longer has the halakhic status of being a garment. So this piece, it's too small to be a garment. Okay, this would be this corner that was ripped off. And even when it is reattached to the talus, it is still considered as if it is a part of apart from the talus. So even if they are reattached, so they say it's like it's still not there. Consider halakhically, still like it's not there. Okay, it is proper to be stringent in to follow this opinion. See commentary. So Mishnah Berurah, however, cites many authorities who hold that there is no problem with affixing tzitzis into such a corner after it's sewn back. So since it is so small, they say stricter opinion that even the you is sewn back, it's still like it's not there. So it's not a garment. So 2 pieces of garments you can attach to each other. There is no problem. But here, okay. But Mishnah Berurah said, okay, no problem. If it was ripped off, just sew back and retie the tzitzis. Okay. But if the piece that was cut or torn did not separate completely from the talus, so it's still hanging, since it remains somewhat connected, sewing the piece back is effective. So I'm like in my mind when I was reading, like it's very hard to rip off the whole corner. Okay, but the sever, yes. Okay, so you can. So they say if it's only severed, so you can connect it back, sewing, no problem. To render it's part of the talus. Okay, no problem. Therefore, tzitzis strings that are attached to it after it had been sewn back into the talus are valid. Okay, so basically it was not completely ripped off. You sew it back. Okay, still valid. Continue. It is customary to sew a piece of cloth that measure 3 hand braces, 3 by 3 thumb braces. Okay, so that's why we have all of the reinforcement corners in outer lacing. Into each corner of the talus, because many garments, even new ones, have smaller pieces attached into the corners. that are smaller than the minimum of the 3 by 3 thumb braces. According to the above opinion, if these smaller pieces were attached to the corners, any tzitzis affixed to them would not be considered to be attached to the garment and would be invalid. So commentary, let's understand what they mean. So Mishnah Brura writes that even if the halacha does not follow this opinion, it is still advisable to sew extra piece of cloth into the corner to avoid the problem altogether. So I'd like to reinforce it so you don't have all these issues. Therefore, on a place where the tzitzis will be affixed, they put a piece of cloth that measure 3 hand braces by 3 hand braces. Okay, thumb braces, sorry, 95. And commentary saying this way the tzitzis will always be attached to the piece of cloth of the proper size. Okay, so maybe, okay, that's what it means. Okay, continue, number 17. Some say that if the entire area of the corner of the garment upon which the tzitzis tassel may be hung, there is from the distance of measure of thumb joint from the end of the talus garment. So thumb joint is like from the nail until the first joint, as we said, right? So thumb joint from the end of the garment, so meaning it's less than 3, so right, less than 3, until the distance of 3 thumb braces from the end of the garment. There should be no stitching, however small, with any thread with which it would be possible to make the tzitzis strings for the garment. So they say no stitches. I'm not sure why. Commentary, let's see. No. Okay, 97. The reason for this prohibition is that we are concerned that the person, after finishing stitching on the corner, will leave the threads hanging from the stitching. Which he will then decide to use as one of the tzitzis strings. This string is not valid for tzitzis. However, because of so you have to one must affix the tzitzis strings on the garment and not use a string that were already attached. So let me explain. I mean, wow, it's all these things. So basically, they let's say he uses a string like a thread to make the stitching, and he would leave like long string, and somehow I'm not sure why he would decide to use it on one of the 8 strings for whatever reason. So to avoid that, they say no stitches all around. Okay. Since the corners here is that one will use the hanging threads of the tzitzis string, it is not applicable to any thread that cannot be used as a tzitzis for a particular garment, as the Kitzur proceed to explain. Okay, so basically, so the correct tzitzis mean that he takes separate strings and bend it over and then tie it, and that's it. Not to use something that was exist before. For example, it was linen talus garment. Linen, as we said, there is no problem; it's permitted. One may not sew the area of the corner with the linen threads, but only with the silk threads or the like. Okay, no linen threads. Okay, so in a minute, so it would not be mixed wool and linen together. Okay. If it was a silk talus garment, one may not sew the area of the corner of this with the silk threads. 1 second. If it was a silk talus, okay. If it was silk talus, he may not sew the area of the corner with the silk threads. If it was woolen talus, he may not sew there with the woolen threads. Okay, because woolen, and then he would leave over and then use it as one of the string for itself. I mean, for us, it's like mission impossible. All of these tzitzis, they're very thick. Nobody like sewing with it this is that thick. I'm not sure. I mean, in the olden days, that's probably they have the thinner tzitzis than we use today. That's my own explanation. Okay, continue. One should take the stringent approach, not only when fixing a tear, but also when with regard to the binding that is made around the hole. So around the hole that is like binding, right? On the corner to strengthen it. Okay. The entire above concern applies only to the stitching with a white thread. However, if the with the colored thread, there is no reason to be concerned that the person would use the tzitzis string, since it does not use the same color of the tzitzis. Okay, so meaning, he's not going to make this mistake. Okay, wow. Okay, so let's do next halacha, number 18. When the talus and the tzitzis string are in a good condition, one may not remove the tzitzis from the talus without cause, leaving the talus without tzitzis. One more time. When the talus and the tzitzis are in good condition, one may not remove the tzitzis from the talus without cause, leaving talus without tzitzis, and this would consider lack of respect to the talus that is used for a mitzvah. If one intends to replace them, however, it is permitted. So basically, the talus is good, the tzitzis are good, so maybe he wants to use the tzitzis somewhere else. Maybe he wants, but it's going to be like some kind of disrespect to the existing talus. So it says, if one wishes to remove tzitzis from a talus, so that he can tie the other tzitzis upon this talus, maybe better one, right? That are nicer. Okay, they're nicer than the one that are on it now, or because one of the strings of the current tzitzis was severed, and he wants to tie a complete string upon the talus, even though the current tzitzis string is still valid. So basically, maybe it's one severed, but it's still still valid. Maybe it's half severed. So you can still wear, but he wants to do to tie new strings, which is no problem. This is nevertheless permitted. So even though it was still valid, but he wants new, no problem. This is because it is not taking them off and leave them talus without tzitzis. On the contrary, he is doing it so that he will affix them even nicer tzitzis to the talus. But when removing the tzitzis tassel to replace it, one should be careful not to dispose of the first pair in any unseemly place. Commentary, for example, he may not throw them directly into the garbage. So basically, we try and when you have tzitzis that are not good or you don't need them, so we try to bury them. Wherever you put the Torah scrolls, the non-Torah scrolls, like Torah materials, like Tugniza, that's what we do with tzitzis. That's what I just recently did also. I have this pair that is not good. Okay. Continue, number 19. Even tzitzis tassels that become invalid and were therefore are removed from talus should not be thrown directly into the garbage. All right, so that's okay. Continuation. So not directly into the garbage, because that would constitute this degradation of the mitzvah, meaning the tzitzis themselves. So talus you can put it like in plastic bag and put in the garbage. There is no problem. It's like it's only a garment, but tzitzis you cannot. Okay, continue. There are those who are punctilious to store such a tzitzis in a sefer, holy book, and make out of them bookmarks for the sefer. Meaning they try to reuse the mitzvah, right? So continue using as a mitzvah. For since a mitzvah was done with these strings one time, it is proper to have another mitzvah done with them as well. So if that's what the person wants, he can use it, no problem. Even a talus garment that become worn and no longer wears it for a mitzvah, even though it was not part of the actual mitzvah itself, as were the string, he should not use it for a degrading purpose. So meaning, so if you have talus and it become worn and it's like holes or whatever, it's not good. So you cannot just throw it in the garbage or cut it in pieces and wash your car with it. It's not good. Okay. Cannot make a rags out of it. For example, degrading use would be used for a wipe mud from one's feet. Okay. It may be, however, be thrown directly into the garbage. But it says directly to the garbage, but we're trying to like still respect it, still with a kippur. If you want, if you have like worn out kippur, so don't throw it in the garbage. Put it in a plastic bag, like respectful. Okay. So see, 1 second, let me check. Okay, so let's try to finish this. Sif number 20. Number 20. Okay. So we'll finish today. It's okay. On Shabbos, when making a knot is prohibited, one cannot fulfill the Torah commandment to affix tzitzis to four-corner garment. Okay, so on Shabbos, one of the Torah nice melachot, we didn't get to it, of course, but one of them that you cannot make knots. In addition, so basically you cannot affix tzitzis on Shabbos, or even tie this extra knot. In addition to the Torah requirements to affix tzitzis to four-corner garment, there is a big prohibition against wearing such a garment, even when one cannot affix the tzitzis. Okay, so Rabbi say if you have such a garment that requires tzitzis, you cannot, and it's the tzitzis is not there, like from one side or ripped, or so you cannot wear it. However, there is a specific situation where rabbinic law is waived. Okay, see Mishnah Berurah. One such a situation described in the CF. So there is one exception. Okay, what is it? If one comes to a synagogue, if one comes on Shabbos to synagogue, and he discovers that one of the tzitzis of his talus has become invalid, and he cannot find the other talus to borrow, and he's embarrassed to stay in a synagogue at that time and pray without talus while everyone else is wearing one, then the halacha is as follows. So basically, out of embarrassment, right? Commentary: the dispensation applies only to Shabbos. On weekdays, it is forbidden to don a talus under similar circumstances. Basically, on a weekday, he can fix it. On Shabbos, he cannot fix it, but we don't want to embarrass him also. So that's the leniency. 1 second, where is it? One more. So halacha is as follows. Since today it is not possible for him to tie another tzitzis into talus due to the Shabbos prohibition tying a knot, so I mean he has no choice. Therefore, because of the great importance of human dignity, he is permitted to wear talus even in an invalid state, since the rabbinic violation is permitted in certain circumstances to preserve human dignity. So basically, okay, so let's read the commentary and we're going to explain. This rule has a very specific regulations and not to be construed as allowing violation of rabbinical commandments in every situation that may violate human dignity. If one is wearing this talus in a public domain, for example, in a street, and notices that one of the strings talus is invalid, he's required to remove the talus immediately. So that's the problem. So he's in a public domain, so he can, so basically he has to leave it somewhere, right? That's what it says. But in the shul, we allow him to pray. So the way I understand, so if he is find out there is a problem like with the talus in the shul, just leave it in the shul. Don't touch it. However, he should not recite the blessing on it, since it is not fulfill any mitzvah but wearing the garment. So if he sees that there is a problem with one of the tzitzis, so okay, don't recite the blessing. In the shul, you can wear it. So it's like out of human dignity is very important. So, and we're going to learn in a class of Shabbos laws that in many cases our rabbis gave us like some discount, like some leniency. But only so we can. But as we said in the commentary, we can only apply this leniency when they said so. They give us halacha and they say in this and such circumstances you can go by this leniency. When does this halacha apply? When he did not know before Shabbos that his talus has become invalid. But if he knew before Shabbos that it has become invalid, he is prohibited from wearing it on Shabbos, even in a synagogue, and even we do not extend to him the above permit. Okay, so if he knew before Shabbos, he had to fix it. For he should have fixed it day before Shabbos. Commentary. According to Mishnah Berurah, if they accidentally forgot to fix it on Friday, he may be lenient to wear on Shabbos. So Mishnah Berurah gives us some leniency. So if I forgot, he was busy, he was sick, he was this, he was that, so he can still wear it only in synagogue, as we said, but not going home. So continue, see if number 21, last one. If one wears garment upon which one is required to affix tzitzis without tzitzis attached to it, he has violated the positive commandment of the Torah. As Bamidbar 15:28 states, they shall make themselves fringes on the corners of their garments. Commentary. This is true during the week when one can tie the tzitzis onto the garment. Okay. So basically, so if you have a garment that's four-corner garment, you're not allowed to wear it and without tzitzis. It is necessary to be vigilant with some garments that are made in a manner that they have four corners, and thus included the requirements of the fixed tzitzis in them. Of course, I mean, but most of the garments that we wear today do not require. So we do this. We wear this specific garment, this talus cotton. Right? If one is not going to affix tzitzis on them, he must alter them so that they no longer are four cornered. So meaning cut off one corner, make it round. Right? To do this, it is necessary to cut one corner exactly in such a manner that it become rounded. Right, like in our shorts, like sometimes we have like rounded corners, right? Rounded, and no longer consider corner. Commentary. However, cutting a corner diagonally will create two corners, making the five-corner garment, upon which one is required to affix tzitzis to four corners, furthest from the middle of the garment. So if he has like cut it like diagonally, so he created five corners. Still, he has to since there are four minimum corners, so he has to type four tzitzis anyway. However, if one merely folded the corner over the corner and sewn it down in a folded position in such a manner that it appears rounded, it does not help. So basically, he has to cut with scissors. So if it's just bend it under and sew like this corner, it's not going to help. For as long as it was cut off, the folded section is still considered part of the. For as long it was not cut off, so it is there. It is there, meaning only bended over. The folded section is still considered part of the garment. How great is the punishment for one who violates the commandments of tzitzis, but one who is scrupulous with regard to the command of tzitzis, merit great of countenance of divine presence. Wow, that's amazing. All right, so let's stop here. So we finished. It was a little technical, but I usually don't disrespect the halacha. I don't skip. Okay, even it does not apply to us, but it does not make any difference. All right. So, if you have any questions, comments, please?
No, not today. I was in a bit of a rush. We'll talk more tomorrow.
All right, BeEzrat Hashem. All right.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
אני מברך את הרבנים, רגע. אני מברך את הרבנים, הרב ירון ראובן, הרב אפרים כחלון, ראשי ארגון בעזרת השם, שהלכו בפי עליון, שעלו מעלה, יהיה להם ברכה והצלחה, הקדוש ברוך הוא ימלא בישועות ליבם לטובה ולברכה, שבכל אשר יפנו ישכילו ויצליחו, יזכרו לעשות כאלה וכאלה, הודיעו תורה לאדירה, אמן ואמן.
בעזרת השם רשת בכל הארץ. הוא היהודי הזה, הוא היה מיליונר, סגר את כל הביזנס, אמר אני משקיע פה בעולמה של תורה.
איפה הוא גר?
בפלורידה.
פלורידה, איפה זה פלורידה? באמריקה.
מיאמי. כן, ליד. אנחנו שם עכשיו הולכים להקים קהילה ספרדית גדולה.
תעבירו מה שבירכתי אותו.
כן, קהילה ספרדית גדולה.
כן.